Hey, thank you for joining me today on the Prophet Dare. Today we have a special treat from Jim Rohn, and this message is three different things combined, and he's speaking about different financial philosophies of biblical people. So first of all, we're going to listen to the philosophy of Jesus, the miracle worker. Second, the philosophy of Job, who is known for his suffering. And the third one is the financial philosophy of Judas Iscariot, who was a sellout and loved money. So without further ado, here's Jim Rohn.
One of Jesus' disciples said to Jesus, "It's time to pay our taxes and we don't have any money." That's how come I know it was around April 15th. That's close. In response to this statement by this disciple, Jesus said, "No problem." Now, why could he say no problem? Well, word has it, if you're a scholar at all, word has it, Jesus was a miracle worker. If you handed a problem to a miracle worker, what would he be inclined to say? No problem. You got to hang out with people like that. I'm telling you. Miracle workers. I belong to a little small group. We do business around the world. These guys are all miracle workers. What an incredible group. If you handed any of them a problem, guess what they would say? No problem. They'll read how many books to solve it? How many that it takes? If they need to consult, how much consulting will they do? As much as it takes. How early will they get up? As early as it takes. So it is no problem. You got to hang out with people like that. You cannot believe the thrill of being associated with miracle workers. People who will do whatever it takes to get the job done, perform miracles. Jesus said, "I'm telling you, it's no problem." He said, "It's going to be simple. This time to pay taxes and haven't got any money. It's going to be easy." Must have been to my seminar. Jesus said it's going to be easy. He said to his disciple, "Here's how easy it's going to be. Just go fishing." Now, it can't be any easier than that. And especially for this disciple, his name was Peter. And Peter was what? A fisherman. Now, if you can fish, and you should fish, and you don't fish, that's how come you get no miracle. But he said to his disciple, "Just go fishing. And the first fish you catch, look in his mouth." Peter said, "Okay." He was used to strange things happening. Peter goes fishing, catches the first fish, looks in his mouth, what? Coins. Coins in the fish's mouth. Peter says, "Wow, coins." And he starts counting and adding up the value of these coins. Guess how much it added up to? Exactly enough money to pay his taxes and Jesus' taxes. I'm telling you, Jesus did pay taxes. Now the question is, should he? And my book coming up is going to answer that question, right? Yes, of course. Jesus and kids should pay taxes. Everybody has to pay. Now, what do we call coins in the fish's mouth? Here's what we call it, a miracle. And here's why we call it a miracle, simply because we don't quite understand how it works. That's all. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means we don't quite understand how it works, which is true of all miracles. And most of us, all of our life is a miracle. I'm telling you. Here's the greatest miracle of all. God says, now I'm an amateur on God too, but let me give you my best shot. God says, "If you'll plant the seed, I'll make the tree." Wow, you can't have a better arrangement than that. Number one, gives God the tough end of the deal. What if you had to make the tree? That'd keep you up late night trying to figure out, how do you make a tree? God says, "No, leave the miracle part to me. I got the seed, the soil, and the sunshine, and the rain, and the miracle of the seasons, and I'm God, and I can do all this miraculous stuff. I just have reserved something very special for you, and that's what? Plant." But if you want a miracle, you've got to do whatever you can do, and if that's plant, it's plant. If it's read, it's read. If it's change, it's change. If it's study, it's study. If it's work, it's work. Labor, whatever you got to do. So that's number one. Labor that works miracles. Number one, do what you can. The whole drama of life is unique. Right? The Bible is one of the most fascinating books to read because it is so unique in its presentation. One story says, God and Satan were chatting away one day. Now, see, I wouldn't have thought that. Isn't that unique? And they're chatting away, and looking down on what's going on the earth. Now, see, that's unique. I thought, how often do they get together and chat and talk about all this stuff? I don't know. But the drama of the story is absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's unique. And on this particular occasion, the story says, God got to bragging about one of his favorite people, Job. And he got to saying, Job, he's my favorite friend. Job, he's the greatest, he's the richest, he's the most powerful, and I'm taking good care of my friend Job. And he kept saying, Job. And finally, Satan got it up to here with Job. And he said, yeah, God, Job, your special friend, you've got this wall built around him. I can't get to him in my normal fashion. And God says, well, he's a special friend of mine. Right? We got this thing going, so I'm taking good care of him. Now, this conversation is going on. I find that fascinating. I find it unique. And finally, in the scenario of the story, Satan says to God, I tell you what, God, if you was to take that special wall of protection down from around your special friend, and if you were to let me at him, I promise you in a short period of time, doing my specialty, he will curse you to your face and then die. God said, you're out of your mind. He would never do that. Not my special friend. Satan said, would you like to wager? Wow. Isn't that fascinating? God says, interesting question. I wonder what Job would do. Now, see, Job doesn't know this is going on. Isn't that fascinating? That's a fascinating story. Finally, according to the scenario of the story, unbelievable, God went for the bet. And he had just one requirement. He said, just one thing. Satan said, what's that? God said, well, you can't kill him. Because he's my special friend. Satan said, okay, I don't need to kill him. But you just take the wall down, let me do my number, and I promise you he will curse you. God said, no way. Satan said, I will do it. And the bet is on. Isn't that fascinating? That's fascinating. According to the terms of the wager, God did as he was required by the wager, and he took the wall down from around his special friend. And when he did, according to the story, Satan did one of his all-time famous numbers on the man. First, took his family. Second, took his wealth, destroyed him. And blow 3, took his health. That's called triple blow. Your family, your fortune, and your health. In one of the last scenes, Job is sitting on the ashes with everything gone, and he is scraping his sores with a rock. And his wife comes along, and she's observed all of this scenario, God forsaking his special friend Job. And she said to Job, it looks like your friend has forsaken you. Why don't you just curse him and die? Satan said to God, here's where it happens. God says, he hasn't talked yet. Isn't that fascinating? That's fascinating. While they both watch, wondering the outcome of this wager, Job says, from his ashes, never. I will never curse my friend. God said, I knew it. I knew it. And he picks up the bet. 10 to 1 or whatever it was, I don't know.
That's a bingo.
You just say bingo.
It doesn't say what the wager was.
I bet you slice into the woods $100.
Isn't that fascinating? Now, the rest of the story says God did make it up to his friend, Job. And when you play these kind of games, you do have to make it up. Let's see, what shall I do? I know what I'll do. I'll just give Job twice of everything he had before. And Job became, according to history, one of the richest, most powerful men in the known world. But isn't that a fascinating scenario? The story says Judas got the money. You say, well, that's a success story. No. It's true, 30 pieces of silver was a sizable sum of money, but it was not a success story. His name was Judas. Doesn't that ring a bell? It makes all the difference in the world. Judas got the money. Here's something interesting about the story of Judas. After he got the money, he was unhappy. Someone says, well, if you had a fortune in your hand, why would you be unhappy? And here's the key. He was not unhappy with the money. He was unhappy with himself.
Judas Iscariot, hog weller.
Here's a key phrase. The greatest source of unhappiness is self-unhappiness. It's not from outside the things that make us unhappy. The greatest devastating unhappiness is to be unhappy with yourself. Now, a mild form of unhappiness is constructive. The desperate form of unhappiness is destructive. It's like worry. We should all worry a little, but not let it destroy our lives. If you're in New York about to step off the curb in downtown Manhattan and the yellow taxi's coming, best you worry enough to get your feet back up on the curb lest you get yourself wiped out. So it's called caution but not undue caution. It's called fear and worry, but not the worry that kills you, not the worry that destroys you. It's like hate. You know, you don't need to hate your job. Save your hate for the important things like evil, like the weeds that attack your garden, like the diabolical ideas that try to entice your children. Right? You don't need to hate everything. I hate this, I hate that. That's the misuse of your hate. Save it for the things we really must hate. But this is so important now to beware. Judas was so unhappy he tried to take the money back. They said, heck with you, we got what we wanted, you got what you wanted, out. They threw him out with his money. Now he becomes so desperate, he goes out and hangs himself for what he did. He became a traitor. So that's the caution now. If Judas could speak back to us in any kind of clear language, here's what he might say. Beware of what you become in pursuit of what you are. Don't sell out. It's not worth it.
I really love those three messages. Now, a lot of times people may get a little bit upset because he's kind of loose with the text, and he's kind of, making some joking matter. But if you really listen to what he's saying, how he applies it, it's helpful for us, right? So I hope you don't get too offended by his way. I'm sure Jim Rohn loves Jesus, loved God, and he's making a presentation to business people, so it wasn't like a Sunday morning sermon. But both of those, or all three of those, I think are great to listen to and to understand that I love the thing about Jesus, and I've listened to that message several times, and often I was kind of perplexed because miracles just happen, right? And we don't really work for miracles, but the way, in the context and what he's talking about was the miracle of a tree or a plant. And we have a part to do, but none of us can make a tree grow. I mean, Jesus invites us into a certain part of this miracle working thing, right? So I thought that was really good. And the part about Job is we are not immune to pain and suffering. And unfortunately, there are some Christians who believe we are, and all that does is create frustration when it actually happens, because unfortunately, it will happen to all of us. We all will face some kind of pain and agony in our life, and that's just, we live in a sin-cursed world, right? And then sometimes people get wrapped around the last scripture he talked about, that God gave Job double, and people say, I got double from my trouble. And I want to caution people from embracing that so much, because in the end, Job lost a lot of things that are eternal temporarily at least. And money does not answer all the problems, right? So just because someone got some money after the fact or got more money after the fact does not absolve or assuage or mollify the pain that we experience. So I want to caution you for that, right? Let's just not go crazy. Oh, I got more money, I got double for my trouble. That's unwise, because it will not balm the heart when those wounds happen. And then Judas, he said, don't be a sellout, right? Don't be a sellout. Don't sell your soul for money. And I wrote a book a long time ago, probably 5 years now, called The Profit Dare, which this site is based on. But the subtitle is Winning at Wealth Without Losing Your Soul. And it's so important that we don't trade, we don't compromise, that we walk in integrity. So again, Jim Rohn, fabulous 3 messages combined. Hope it was a blessing to you. If so, please like and subscribe. Share this with somebody, and I will see you soon with a new video. Blessings.